Dariel is a soldier of darkness who has served the Demon King for 32 years. Bashubaza fired him and expelled him from the Demon King's army. Bashubaza is the second-generation king. He is one of the heavenly kings. Dariel couldn't use magic and was only a commoner in status. Magic is very important for the Demon King's army, so Dariel doesn't deserve to be here. Dariel was shocked after hearing this. In the past, Granbarza, the first-generation heavenly king or Bashubaza's father, had left a message to Dariel to take care of Bashubaza. But Bashubaza says that he doesn't need a weakling like Dariel. Because of that, Dariel immediately packed his things and left the Demon King's castle. Dariel is also often insulted by the demon race because he is a warrior with the lowest level. One of the people who mocked Dariel was Rizit. But Dariel ignored Rizit's words, said goodbye to him, and immediately wandered around aimlessly. A few days later, Dariel got lost in a large forest and was very hungry. Dariel has also given up on his life because he has no more goals. When Dariel was resting, suddenly, a beautiful and sexy girl jumped on top of him. It turned out that the girl was being chased by a monster that had a high rank. Because of that, Dariel immediately helped the girl with the last of his strength and ordered the girl to get out of there as soon as possible.
初歩的な火炎魔法すら使えない。お逃げください。
Dariel manages to kill the monster by imitating the hero's fighting styles. The girl was very impressed with Dariel because he could beat the monster. Even she thought Dariel was a hero, which was often said by the public. Then the girl thanked Dariel because he had helped her. Dariel doesn't really care about the girl because she comes from the human race, while Dariel comes from a demon race who always fights with humans. When Dariel will return to continue his journey.
私の村に来てくれませんか？待ってください。
お言葉に甘えてみるか。
美味しい食事とか。
When Dariel arrived at the girl's house, he was very nervous because this was enemy territory for the demon race. But the girl's parents welcomed Dariel kindly. Then they started getting acquainted, the girl's parents, Anvil and Erica, and the hot girl, Marika. They asked about Dariel's reason for being in a forest full of monsters like that. Dariel answered very carefully because he didn't want to be killed by the humans. Then Dariel tells the incident he experienced days ago while covering up his identity, and that of the Demon King. After listening to Dariel's story, Marika cried because the person who kicked Dariel out was cruel. According to Marika, Dariel is a good person and willing to risk his life for the safety of others. Marika is annoyed at the person who kicked Dariel out. She also holds Dariel's hand and offers him to stay at Marika's family house as many vacant rooms are available. Marika's parents also allowed Dariel to live here. After all, the remote village called Lux Village was short on workers, so Dariel could work in this village if he wanted to. Even Erica was happy that Dariel was able to defeat monsters quickly. In Dariel's mind, he was still hesitating because he was from the demon race, but he sensed that Marika wanted him to live together in this house. Because of that, Dariel accepted Marika's family's offer.
食事を。
あら、今すぐ用意しますね。
At night, Marika wanted to have a little chat with Dariel. Marika thanked him once again. Since long ago, Marika had always been relied on by others and never met the man who protected her. Because of that, Marika was pleased to meet a strong man like Dariel. He was the first man who willingly protected her from monster attacks.
魔族が人間の娘を助けるか。変なの。
それだけです。じゃあ、おやすみなさい。
The next day, Dariel is offered a job as an adventurer by Anvil. Anvil was the leader of the Adventurers Guild in this village, so he asked Dariel to make an adventurer's or a spell contract first. But Dariel deliberately pretended to be sick to escape from there. He didn't want his identity as a demon race to be known by them. Then Anvil deliberately ordered Marika to force Dariel to make the contract.
多くのスパイがこれに敗れ、包帯ぐるぐる巻きで帰ってきたんだって。熱い。まずい。俺が魔族だってバレてしまう。登録完了じゃ。
Dariel was surprised because the aura contract could enter him without any problem. He just realized that all this time, he was from the human race who lived in the demon nation. In the past, Dariel was a child adopted by Grand Barza and raised by him. But now he will live in the human race, true to Dariel's origin. Then Anvil will train Dariel how to use the spell aura. Marika also saw Dariel train today. The level of compatibility of each adventurer in each class is very different, so Dariel must choose a class that matches the spell aura. 4 types of the aura are slash, sting, hit, and defend. First, Dariel will try to use a sword and immediately use the power of spell aura according to instructions from Anvil. After Dariel could use his powers, Anvil told Dariel to try one by one of the 4 types of aura. It turns out that all types of the aura are very compatible with Dariel. Anvil was envious because he had been an excellent adventurer for years, but he was only suited to one class. Marika was amazed and happy because Dariel could use 4 types of aura without problems. After that, they discussed Dariel's abilities, but Dariel didn't know why he could exert too much power like this. Then Anvil advised Dariel to register with the Adventurers Guild in the city center, which adventurers really dream of. Anvil knew that Dariel's immense power could be more beneficial if he became an adventurer there. Anvil had never seen an adventurer with such a high level of compatibility across all types of spell auras. Then Dariel saw Marika crying because she was sure that Dariel would go to the city center. After seeing that, Dariel finally decided to stay in Lux Village and would help Anvil do the work of an adventurer. He wanted to repay the kindness that Marika's family had bestowed on him. Dariel also apologized that this decision might have been selfish, but he still didn't want to go to the city center. Upon hearing that, Marika and Anvil were overjoyed that the Lux Village could finally get another adventurer. Then Anvil introduced Dariel to the residents of Lux Village. Before long, there was a teenage boy who was boasting to Dariel. His name is Gashida. Dariel was still at E rank, so he had to obey Gashida, who was at D rank. After Gashida left there, Anvil apologized to Dariel because Gashida had been like that long ago. Anvil hopes that Gashida can change when he goes on a quest with Dariel. After that, Anvil gave the first quest to Dariel, collecting herbs. Lux Village's Adventurers Guild was receiving a lot of quests like this. Anvil also warned Dariel to be careful when looking for herbs in the forest. Recently, there have been a lot of high-rank monsters roaming around. Even Gashida had been running a quest for one of the high-rank monsters for 6 months, and he couldn't beat it. Then when Anvil showed Gashida's quest to Dariel, then Anvil ordered other adventurers to check on the monsters that Dariel had previously defeated. After the inspection, Anvil stamped Dariel's quest and called Gashida to the Adventurers Guild. Anvil was angry with him because he worked too long, and the monsters were wreaking havoc everywhere. Anvil also told Gashida to work even faster so Dariel would not replace his role. Gashida should also thank Dariel for helping him, but Gashida thanked Dariel with an irritated feeling. In Dariel's mind, Anvil shouldn't need to say that to Gashida because he's still a teenager and mentally unstable. Then Gashida immediately took the next quest without Anvil's approval. He also underestimated Dariel's quest because it was the easiest and most suitable for an E rank like him. Gashida said he would prove he was far superior to that old uncle who had just become an adventurer. Then he left from there. Afterward, Dariel said goodbye to Anvil because he wanted to go to the forest. But Anvil asks for a moment of Dariel's time as he secretly raises Dariel's rank to D rank. He deserved this rank for having killed monsters before. Not long after, Marika, already very beautifully dressed, joined Dariel to go to the forest. Dariel didn't invite Marika to do this quest together because she also has a lot of work in this house. But Marika says that she still wants to go with Dariel. He just came to this village, and Marika has to be his escort everywhere. Dariel felt Marika was a pushy girl, so he deliberately allowed Marika to join him. While Anvil seemed to greatly approve of their relationship, his face carried this expression. After they left the village, Dariel told Marika to go home because many monsters were roaming the forest. Then Marika said she would be fine because the residents sometimes also went to the forest. But usually, they enlist the help of adventurers to get into the deepest parts of the forest, dangerous places, or check out any troublesome situation.
もしやこの仕事って何でも屋なのか。
After walking for a long time in the forest, they arrived at a fairly high cliff. Marika said she was really looking forward to an obstacle like this. Then Marika went up the cliff first, and Dariel followed her from behind. Well, this scene was censored from the official studio, so I hope you won't be disappointed. Marika had wished to become an adventurer for a long time because she wanted to be useful to the village. Marika, at that time, deliberately went into the forest alone to look for medicinal plants. She received the quest from a grandmother who had a cold. This was supposed to be Gashida's duty, but he didn't want to do it, and Marika had to complete it. Then Dariel said again that Marika didn't need to escort him this far. But Marika still wanted to accompany Dariel because she wanted to repay Dariel's kindness at that time. So Marika wanted Dariel to relax and just watch her for the day. Dariel replied that he had seen Marika's body since climbing this cliff. Then Marika wanted to join hands with Dariel. She reasoned so that Dariel would not be separated from her. Dariel rejected her and asked for another way except join hands, and Marika asked Dariel like this.
なら抱き合います？
遠慮します。
着きました。
Finally, they arrived at a place where many herbs were there. When Dariel was doing this quest, he saw Marika, quick and nimble to collect lots of herbs. Dariel thought that Marika was used to this. When Marika was putting lots of herbs into storage, she saw Dariel picking the wrong plants. After Marika explained the details about the herbs, Dariel thanked her with a smile. This made Marika blush when she saw his smile.
ついでに止血草も摘みましょう。
Then they continued picking up other herbs. Marika also easily lifted the tree trunk, which surprised Dariel greatly. Even Marika could see very thin deer footprints on the ground.
どこに？
Marika plans to catch the deer for dinner tonight. In Dariel's mind, he was amazed by Marika's ability because it was as if she could do this alone. Then Dariel asked Marika, when you were chased by the monkey monster yesterday, couldn't you kill it directly? Then Marika replied that she was very scared to fight monsters. Because of that, Dariel remains the hero who saved her yesterday. Suddenly, Marika, an ordinary citizen, gave a quest to Dariel because he was an adventurer. She wanted Dariel to call her name less formally because Marika wanted to get closer to Dariel. To be honest, Dariel was a bit confused by Marika's behavior, but he would give in to her wishes.
マリーカさん。
Then Dariel was forced to say there was a deer behind Marika, so she wouldn't hug Dariel anymore. It turns out that the deer is really there and will attack them. But the deer suddenly jumped over them for some reason.
モンスターと鹿が戦ってる。
When they returned to the village with the monster and the deer, Gashida was very upset because Dariel took away his quest again. Several days had passed, and Dariel was getting used to adapting to this village. Even he already considered Lux village as his hometown. Dariel's life in the human region was very smooth, and Marika also often helped him daily. Then Dariel went to the Adventurers Guild to report on the herb quest he did every day. But he met with Gashida and is still very annoyed with Dariel. Not long after, Marika greeted Dariel very cheerfully.
ご飯にします？サウナにします？それとも。
お父さん。
But Dariel didn't care about Marika's greeting and immediately reported the quest to Anvil. But Anvil is confused about Gashida because Dariel has taken Gashida's quest twice. Even though this was a trivial matter, Dariel also accidentally killed the two monsters that Gashida was after. Dariel apologizes because he has caused Anvil a lot of trouble. Marika hugged Dariel's arm and said Dariel didn't need to apologize because dangerous monsters had to be killed quickly. Anvil also agreed with Marika's words. After all, adventurers had to work together to protect the village. Then Anvil said he was also worried about something from the neighboring town. Anvil got a quest about a C-rank snake monster between Lux village and a neighboring town. This monster was more dangerous than the monsters that Dariel fought at that time because it had poison. After Dariel and Marika saw the quest, Marika said that the Adventurers Guild in a big city should be the ones taking care of this. Then Anvil explains that the big city will also be doing it. Anvil got the quest from a neighboring town because they wanted to tell this Lux village to stay alert. There has also prepared a large army to kill the monster. Gashida had seen this quest before, so he would likely join them. Despite that, Marika was annoyed at her father because the adventurers from Lux village had trespassed into other territories. If Geshida didn't have permission from the neighboring town, Anvil would be in big trouble again like he used to be. In Dariel's mind, he just discovered that Marika's character is tough and fussy. Then Dariel asked Anvil for permission to bring Geshida home. Marika also wanted to accompany Dariel, but Dariel told Marika to stay home and do her work. Initially, Marika stubbornly wanted to go with Dariel, but Dariel says that adventurers have been assigned to explore dangerous places, so Marika should wait for Dariel and Geshida's return here. After hearing that, Marika was a little irritated because her words were said back by Dariel. But Marika still complied and would just wait for Dariel here. She also prepared medicines for Dariel because she was so worried about him.
じゃあ行ってきます。
When Dariel had walked far enough through the forest, he suddenly found a very large snake trail sign. Dariel was surprised because the large army that Anvil referred to before was nowhere to be seen. Not long after, a snake monster appeared, chasing Geshida quickly. He was terrified and couldn't attack the snake monster because of its high defense. Meanwhile, Dariel had to risk his life to kill this snake monster. But unfortunately, the monster is still chasing Geshida and Dariel rushes to help him. After killing the snake monster, Dariel immediately treated Geshida's wound with the medicinal plants there. Dariel also ordered Geshida to drink the medicine Marika had prepared. Geshida was very scared while crying. He thought that today was his death day. Even Geshida wasn't sure if the poison from the monster would disappear from his body. But Dariel said that poison like this could be cured because of Marika's high-quality medicinal herbs. Dariel has also learned a lot about this medicinal plant and is sure that Geshida will survive. Dariel only did this treatment as much as he could. The most effective was Marika's medicine. At least Dariel can be useful again for others, and his life is not wasted.
よく泣くな、この子。
The next day, Dariel had breakfast with Marika and her family as usual. But suddenly, Geshida came there to greet Dariel as his older brother. Geshida can't wait to work with Dariel when his wound heals. Then Marika was annoyed with Geshida for disturbing Dariel's activities today. She advised Geshida to go home and rest so the wound could heal quickly. But Geshida doesn't want to go home and join Marika's family to eat. In Dariel's mind, he really enjoyed his current life in this village. He has a lot of work to do because he has to protect many citizens. Dariel also remembered the heavenly kings, who had chased him away back then, and he hoped they would be fine when fighting the heroes' party.
四天王の方々も元気だといいな。
さん、風邪ですか？
いや、なんでもないです。
On the other hand, it turns out that the four heavenly kings' situation worsened after Dariel was not in the demon king's army. Zebiontis failed to spy on the heroes' party. She was the strongest king and was accidentally defeated by their new member. Zebiontis also blamed the spear user for messing up her plans. Then Bashubaza said that Zebiontis should have investigated the spear user first. But Zebiontis didn't respond to Bashubaza's words, and instead, she blamed Dariel's substitute soldier for not gathering information. Due to this, Bashubaza fired the soldier and looked for a replacement. The heavenly kings were confused as they had changed soldiers many times, but nothing matched their plan. Then one of the girls from the four heavenly kings, Doroi, said that the demon king's army still needed Dariel. She wanted Dariel to return here because he was very useful in battles, tactics, and troop leadership. Even whatever work he does always succeeds perfectly. Doroi had been watching Dariel for a long time. In fact, he is a very loyal person serving Doroi and continues to protect her. Doroi had been silent for a few days because she couldn't go against the decision of Bashubaza, who was very stubborn. But now she wants Dariel to return to the Demon King's army, and Bashubaza has to accept Doroi's words. But Bashubaza still can't do it, and he is furious that Doroi said Dariel's name in front of him. Several weeks later, Geshida always took the same quest as Dariel. He always wanted to play and work with Dariel all the time. This disturbed Dariel, and he was very troubled by Geshida's behavior. Apart from Geshida, Dariel also has a hard time dealing with Marika, who is so obsessed with him like this.
だがそれ以外、俺のセカンドライフは順調だった。日ごと彼女はエスカレートしている。
Because Marika's strength is too strong compared to other girls, Dariel has a hard time overcoming it. Dariel has started to enjoy his new life here and considers Marika's parents his own parents. But he noticed something strange in Lux village. After Dariel's wound was treated, he asked Anvil about the strangeness of the Lux village. Why are there so many empty houses in this village? Then Anvil told Marika to bring a map of the Lux village so he could explain it to Dariel. But Marika didn't answer her father's calls, and Dariel rushed to her. It turned out that she was crying because she had hurt her beloved Dariel. Marika couldn't help herself when she met Dariel, and she was worried that one day Dariel would be killed because of Marika's attitude. Then Dariel said that Marika didn't need to worry about that. Upon hearing that, Marika's heart calmed down, and she immediately gave Anvil the map of the Lux village. Anvil says that the empty houses were the remains of this village when it was still victorious. Across the village of Lux is the most precious place to the human race. That place is a mithril mine that humans really need. Mithril is the strongest material to process into various weapons. For hundreds of years, the demon and human race have fought over the mine site. But when Anvil was a child, the mine was overrun by demons. The human race once wanted to take the mine back but failed and gave up. In the past, the Lux village was always crowded every day because people always transported mithril through this village. But now it is no longer like that, and the population of this village is also becoming less and less. Even the Lux village can almost be said to be dead because the population is too few. In Dariel's mind, the demon nation needs mithril to store magic power and can be used as a magic tool. When in his room, Dariel was still thinking about the mithril mine because he used to always work there. Then Dariel decided to go there the next day to find someone to discuss mithril. But Dariel couldn't openly enter like this because he would likely be caught by the Demon King soldiers. Fortunately, there is a box that Dariel can use to enter this mithril mine. But when Dariel toured the place, it turned out that no soldiers were guarding it. Dariel was confused by the situation. It was much different from when Dariel was still working as a Demon King soldier. Then Dariel took off his box disguise and immediately entered the mithril mine, which was very quiet. Dariel tried to scream for whoever was there, but no one answered his call. Before long, a miner group wanted to work again, and Dariel was grateful to meet them. Workers at this mining site are called knocker. The knockers were very happy when they saw Dariel visiting there. In fact, they want to be spoiled by Dariel like they used to because they miss him so much. Afterward, Dariel asked about what actually happened at this mining site. The knockers say they were ordered to gather too much mithril. The one who commands the knockers is a subordinate of King Banished. They were very sad because they were ordered cruelly and differently from Dariel. Only Dariel can remember the name of every knocker who works in this mining. After Dariel was fired from the Demon King's army, many old soldiers were also fired by Banished. He did this to save money and was on a continuous search for qualified soldiers. Dariel was shocked after hearing the news and felt sorry for these knockers. Even though they are no longer Dariel's responsibility, the knockers are always serious about carrying out their work. Before long, the knockers heard the voice of Bashubaz's subordinate and the soldiers. Then Dariel immediately hid to see what Bashubaz's subordinate, who was commander in this mine, looked like. After Bashubaz's subordinate appeared, Dariel didn't know that person because he was a new member of the Demon King's army. I'll call him Terry. Terry scolded the knockers for taking too little mithril. The knockers asked for more time to fulfill Terry's orders. They couldn't gather much mithril if given a little time. But Terry doesn't care and will punish the knockers if they don't collect more by tomorrow. When Terry wanted to leave there, one of the annoyed knockers immediately attacked Terry's head. Terry got very angry with them and told the soldiers to kill the knockers. Terry asked, "Who are you?" Dariel replies that he is an adventurer from the human nation. Then Terry accused Dariel that he had incited the knockers and wanted to take over this mithril mine. Dariel is just an ordinary human who fights relying on weapons only, not comparable to the power possessed by the demon nation. Terry also said that the knockers did not deserve mercy because they did not work according to orders. Terry was the commander assigned directly by Banished, so no one was allowed to argue with that. Then Dariel began to use his strength, borrowed the uniform of one of the knockers, and tied his sword in the sheath. In Dariel's mind, he wanted to fight them without hurting anyone. The soldiers were shocked because Dariel tied his sword in the sheath. Then they immediately chanted a magic spell against Dariel. Of course, Dariel had memorized the magic spells cast by the soldiers. Even he could remember how long they chanted magic spells and how much attack power they had. The knockers also want to help Dariel when the soldiers' magic spells are about to be released. But suddenly, the soldiers cancel their magic and prefer to kick the knockers. After seeing that, Dariel remembered that soldiers only fight earnestly on the battlefield. Because of that, Dariel immediately discussed with the soldiers not fighting the knockers. They were just ordinary civil servants, and the soldiers had to live up to the principles of the Demon King army. If soldiers killed commoners, it would be on the same level as murderers. When the soldiers wanted to withdraw their intention, Terry suddenly attacked Dariel and forced the soldiers to kill him. When Dariel wanted to threaten Terry said he wasn't part of the Demon King's army. Terry is just an ordinary civilian who coincidentally meets Bashubaza while working at a restaurant. After they chatted there for quite a while, Bashubaza suddenly entrusted mithril mining to him. Of course, Dariel was shocked because Bashubaza was too stupid because he preferred to fire Dariel and be replaced by Terry, who couldn't do anything. Then Dariel said that Terry shouldn't have ordered the soldiers to kill civilian workers. The status of the knockers was the same as Terry's, and the soldiers also had the pride of protecting civilians. It turned out that Dariel decided to let Terry live and ordered the soldiers to return to the base to carry out their duties as usual. The knockers were amazed by Dariel because it was the first time they had seen him like this. The knockers also just found out that Dariel comes from a human race who grew up in a demon nation. Then they want to be with Dariel forever. They don't want to work for the demon nation anymore.
これからもずーっとダリエル様にお供しますな。ダリエル様がいりゃ安心だ。ダリエル様がこんなにお強いなんて。
After that, Dariel reports to Anvil that he has successfully taken over the mithril mines, and the knockers want to work for the human race. Of course, Anvil was shocked after hearing that because they had been on the demon nation's side a long time ago. But Dariel couldn't say anything and immediately begged Anvil to take in the knockers. Then Anvil agrees to Dariel's request and informs the Downtown Adventurers Guild of this matter. So many weeks passed, and the mithril mines finally returned to the human race again. Many citizens and adventurers worked together to renovate the mithril mining site. Meanwhile, the knockers became the leaders of mithril mining. The residents of Lux Village also renovated an empty house there, and finally, Lux Village was back to being as busy as it used to be. Anvil thanks Dariel because he has changed the fate of this village. But Dariel remained humble, saying that this incident was just his luck. Before long, Marika brought lunch for Dariel and Anvil. But suddenly, Marika tripped over a rock, and Dariel accidentally held Marika's boobs, while saying her name without a formal call.
まるで自分のものみたいに呼び捨てで今マリーカって呼んでくれたあれダリエルさんダリエルさん
In the Demon King's palace, Bashubaza is doing his usual activities with his parrot. Then Zebiantist entered Bashubaza's room and saw that there was a large crystal there. Bashubaza said it was a magic weapon that could combine various magic elements. Mithril is the main material for the manufacture of these items. If Mithril's power was mixed with some elemental magic, he would absorb it within the item. When there is a lot of magic power stored there, Bashubaza can use it to create a powerful explosion. With this thing, Bashubaza could become the greatest heavenly king. Bashubaza had already asked his subordinate for a large supply of mithril, so he should be able to store even more magic power. Then Zebiantist reported that the mithril mine had suddenly been captured by the human race. Even the knockers so denied the words of Bashubaza's subordinate. Zebiantist also tell Bashubaza that the Demon King called him because he wants to complain to Bashubaza. When Bashubaza confronts the Demon King, he is furious and torments Bashubaza with his powers. Bashubaza was too stupid to make such a useless thing. The Demon King had repeatedly warned him to stop the trash project, but Bashubaza ignored his orders. Even though the Demon King really wanted to enjoy mithril produced to taste, Bashubaza instead increased the search for mithril supplies. Even the Demon King was increasingly angry because mithril was no longer under the control of the Demon Nation. He asks Bashubaza to bow down to him and apologize until the Demon King is satisfied. Then Bashubaza forcibly lowered his pride and apologized to the Demon King. Afterward, the Demon King says that Bashubaza should ask Dariel for more help. Bashubaza's father could fulfill his duties perfectly thanks to the help from Dariel. Dariel is a quality soldier and very generous in carrying out any task. He is a reliable man, and he is very kind to everyone here. Unfortunately, Bashubaza had committed the biggest mistake of firing Dariel from the Demon King's army. Then the Demon King stops Bashubaza temporarily to make amends. He wants Bashubaza to self-reflect to be smarter in carrying out his duties.
どうするのかな？ダリエル君はもういないのに。王様まで名前を。
In Lux Village, Marika and Dariel are having a romantic chat under a shady tree. Marika was pleased and grateful because it was the first time she had seen a bustling village like this. Dariel said that adventurers and merchants would visit every day. Then Marika blushed while saying she wanted her future children to see a bustling village like this. Even though Marika wants to have many children, she will still serve her husband well as she is now. After hearing that, Dariel was confused by the meaning of Marika's words. So he replies to Marika by praising her because Marika was so great being able to do that at once. Of course, Marika blushed even more, and she said that Dariel must also be a wonderful father in the future. Then Marika wanted to say something to Dariel because she couldn't hold back her love. But suddenly, Dariel asked Marika's permission to approach Gashida as he was arguing with some adventurers. Marika had said there was a big party tonight for the Lux Village celebration, so she hoped Dariel would come home early. Marika was very sad because she didn't have time to tell her feelings to Dariel. In Dariel's mind, he could guess what Marika would say earlier. Those were terrible words for Dariel. Then Dariel calmed down Gashida because he was rude to visitors to this village. Gashida said he was angry that the adventurers from the neighboring town, Campbell, underestimated the strength of the adventurers in Lux Village so much. Then Dariel also introduced himself as a D-rank adventurer to them. One of the adventurers named Fitbitten, a B-rank adventurer, said that he knew there were only 2 adventurers in this Lux Village. He underestimated Dariel's strength since he was only a D rank, and the Lux Village must have used a trick to get the mithril mine back. Fitbitten would take over the work in the mithril mine, and the Lux villagers would no longer have to run the place. He also wants Dariel to teach Gashida good manners, because he doesn't respect Fitbitten, who has more power. Upon hearing this, Dariel said that Fitbitten had failed to defeat the C-rank snake monster at that time. The monster suddenly fled to the forest area of Lux Village, and Gashida found it first. If Gashida didn't report that, Lux Village definitely has been destroyed, and the villagers would have been injured a lot. In Dariel's mind, he was deliberately defending Gashida like this. Then he asked Gashida to leave there, so there would be no further commotion. But suddenly, Gashida shouted to Fitbitten that Dariel had killed the snake monster alone, so Fitbitten doesn't have to brag about its own strengths. Everyone there was shocked after hearing that, including Fitbitten. They didn't expect that Dariel was still in D rank, even though he deserves to get in a rank for killing the monster.
作戦でミスをしたのはフィットビタンのパーティーだったそうだ。
At night, the villagers party at Inval's house to celebrate Lux Village's return to glory. Gashida, who was drunk, told Marika everything that happened this morning. Upon hearing this, Marika became furious and wanted to kill Fitbitten. Then Dariel hugged Marika to hold her back because there would likely be big trouble if she went berserk. Inval calmed Marika because he knew every adventurer must be proud of their strength, so it was natural for Fitbitten to recognize Dariel for the first time. But Marika's heart was still hurt because Fitbitten had insulted her beloved husband. Then they started to change the topic of discussion to renovating empty houses in this village. Inval said that it was a bit hampered for some reason.
お父さん娘をよろしく頼む。こういう意味じゃない。
A few days later, Bisfrid from the Central Guild came to Inval's house to talk to Dariel. Bisfrid begs Dariel to help him discuss with the Knockers. They hadn't wanted to listen to what Bisfrid had to say for weeks. The Knockers say they don't want to obey anyone other than Dariel's orders, even though Bisfrid had spoken kindly to them. Bisfrid was curious, why was it only Dariel they trusted? Bisfrid didn't want to force them and purposely asked Dariel for help today. Then Dariel made sense of the nature of the Knockers because they had been oppressed by the devils for a long time. Knockers have a hard time trusting people. Dariel also reasoned that the Knockers always obeyed his words because he had saved them. At first, Dariel was hesitant to accept Bisfrid's request. Then Dariel finally agreed to Bisfrid's request because he didn't want to force the Knockers. After that, Dariel met with Fitbitin and his friends. They were assigned by Bisfrid to guard this mithril mine for some time. Recently, the Demon Nation has frequently communicated with the Knockers and the Human Nation through the magic there. Before long, the Demon Nation communicated with the Human Nation again. In Dariel's mind, he recognized the sound and immediately went around the forest to meet them. After arriving there, it turned out that the voice was from Rizit, accompanied by other soldiers. Then Rizit immediately used his magic because the Demon Nation did not intend to go to war with the Human Nation. Rizit also told the soldiers to return to the base now. After that, Dariel called out to Rizit, and Rizit immediately hugged Dariel. Rizit said the Demon Nation's situation was chaotic without Dariel. Then they chatted for a while in the lake around the mithril mines. Rizit also felt guilty because, at that time, he insulted Dariel when Dariel had just been fired. Rizit actually wanted to greet Dariel as usual because many people used that sentence there. Then Dariel said that he didn't think about it anymore. He also told Rizit that Dariel was actually from the Human Nation. Then Dariel told what he experienced after being fired by Bashubaza. Rizit just found out that Dariel couldn't use magic while in the Demon Nation, because he came from the Human Nation. Dariel wanted Rizit to keep this a secret. He didn't want any misunderstandings or chaos. Now it was Rizit's turn to tell the situation in the Demon Nation. The soldiers become disorganized as Bashubaza fires Dariel. Even many important people were fired by that stupid Heavenly King. Everyone in the Demon Nation is uncomfortable with Bashubaza's behavior. In the end, the Demon King scolds Bashubaza for being too stupid. Rizit always came to the mithril mines because the Demon Nation wanted to apologize to them. Then Rizit asked Dariel to return to being a Demon King army soldier, but Dariel refused Rizit's invitation because he had been fired. After all, he was no longer needed by the Demon Nation. Then Rizit said that Doroi missed him very much and was looking for Dariel everywhere secretly. She wished for Dariel to return to the Demon Nation again. But Dariel still can't go back there because he already works for a family that has helped his life. Dariel wants to repay their kindness because Dariel is still alive today, thanks to them. Suddenly Rizit uses magic to lock up Dariel so he can bring him back to the Demon Nation. But Dariel can counter Rizit's magic, and he has the best solution for the Demon Nation.
お前ら、ミスリル買わない？
Dariel met Bisfrid to get to know Rizit, and Fitbitin was also there. Dariel reasons that Rizit represents the Demon Nation, and wants to buy mithril from the Human Nation. The Demon Nation desperately needs mithril for its purposes. Because of that, they would definitely want to reclaim it someday. Selling mithril to the Demon Nation was the best solution that Dariel had thought of. The mithril price that must be sold to the Demon Nation is 44 times the market price of the Human Nation. If Bisfrid agrees with Dariel's suggestion, the Demon Nation won't take over the mithril mine because they already have enough supplies. Dariel also reasoned and slightly lied to Bisfrid that Rizit had come here alone. He risked his life to negotiate mithril with the Human Nation. Then Rizit said that the Demon Nation must get mithril as soon as possible. So the Demon Nation is ready to pay any mithril price the Human Nation offers, as long as they get a reasonable amount of mithril. It would be endless if the Demon Nation were to fight with the Human Nation again. Of course, Bisfrid was shocked after hearing that. But Fitbitin disagreed with Dariel's suggestion, and suddenly, he attacked Rizit, and Dariel managed to protect Rizit. Fitbitin will never trust the Demon Nation because they have taken so much advantage so far. Dariel is angry that Fitbitin is interfering with this conversation. Mithril's buying and selling solution is the best way to avoid wars that cause much death. Then Bisfrid was also angry because Fitbitin did not have the right to decide on the solution that Dariel gave.
では詳細な取引の内容だが、まずは
A few days later, the Demon Nation soldiers started transporting the mithril that had been paid for. Rizit thanked Dariel because the Demon Nation could apologize directly to the knockers. Dariel was also grateful because he managed to find the best solution, thanks to Rizit coming to the mithril mine. For Dariel, the Demon and Human Nation were important now. Dariel was adopted by Bashubaza's father as a child, who raised him with great affection. If Dariel hadn't been adopted by him, Dariel wouldn't be alive until now because he is an orphan.
いつか種族とか関係なくみんなが仲良くなれたらいいよな。
A few days later, Bisfrid told Dariel to open a mithril smithy. He had given Dariel a map of the location of the abandoned blacksmith's house. After Dariel arrived at the house, it turned out that Fitbitin was also assigned to supervise the new workers there. So, of course, Dariel is bound to get into a lot of trouble with the Fitbitin.
なんか始まってる。
Fitbitin says that Dariel doesn't need to be here because he won't be able to build this blacksmith alone. So Fitbitin told Dariel to go home because this blacksmith would be taken over by him. After all, Dariel didn't know the smiths from other cities and had no qualified residents. Fitbitin had already brought in quality smiths from the town of Campbell, and Dariel wouldn't be able to go against the orders of Fitbitin, a very powerful B-rank adventurer. In Dariel's mind, Fitbitin was really a stubborn person. Then Dariel reported this to Anvil. Anvil understood that Fitbitin was very interested in this work because he could get so much profit. Maybe this is also Fitbitin's revenge, whose job Dariel has taken as mithril mine security. Not long after, Marika came there and hugged Dariel while scared. She asked for Dariel's help because an old man suddenly grabbed Marika's boobs.
出てきたおじいさんに胸を。
万死に値する。
Upon hearing that, Dariel was furious, and the old man deserved to die now. Then the old man woke up and said that a teenager shouldn't hit an old man for being rude, even though he only held Marika's boobs. Well, it seems this old man needs some self-reflection first. Then Dariel said that a man should not speak like that in front of women, because that is sexual harassment. The old man didn't listen to what Dariel was saying, and he said that Dariel was just a low-level adventurer. Of course, Marika was angry because the old man had belittled and insulted Dariel, her beloved husband. Then the old man explained that he thought Dariel was a low-level adventurer because his sword was very strange. The old man knows that Dariel's sword is worn out, and Dariel cannot become a great adventurer with such a sword. Then Marika was still annoyed with the old man, and she said that Dariel had once fought the demon soldiers and C-rank snake monster alone with this sword. Of course, the old man was shocked and immediately checked Dariel's hand. He could sense what kind of aura adventurers had. After examining Dariel's hand, the old man found that Dariel matched all aura types. The old man was fortunate to meet Dariel, an adventurer with a rare aura. He introduced himself as a blacksmith named Smith and was here with his apprentice. Then Dariel brought Smith home, and he started telling them things. After hearing Smith's story, Dariel didn't understand and didn't know what he was telling. Then Marika says that Smith must be lying and using a fake name. If Smith was a legendary master blacksmith, surely everyone would recognize his name. Dariel asks Anvil about the name Smith, but Anvil says he's never heard of that name either. Then Smith is annoyed because they suspect him of being a bad person. Because of that, he immediately showed the letter from the Central Guild. The letter stated that Smith was indeed using an assumed name. Smith is ordered by Bisfrid to return to being a forge worker. Because of that, Smith asked for Dariel's help to take him to the blacksmith's place, which was determined by Bisfrid at that time. Dariel says that he can't take Smith to the blacksmith. Fitbitin and the workers from the town of Campbell have the place under control. Dariel wouldn't be able to negotiate with them either since Fitbitins were stubborn B-rank adventurers. Smith still told Dariel to drive him there, and Smith will do good negotiations with Fitbitin later. When they got there, it turned out that Smith begged Fitbitin by seducing him using an extraordinary male passion. Smith wanted to make one mithril weapon before he faced his death. If Fitbitin hadn't let Smith in, he would likely have vomited by now from drinking too many beers. Because of that, Fitbitin was forced to let stupid Smith work here temporarily, and his place would be segregated from the other workers. Of course, Dariel didn't expect Smith to engage in such lustful seduction. After Smith entered the blacksmith's house, he was very excited and didn't want to go home until he finished forging one weapon. Smith was very happy to see the mithril stone again. This small stone was enough to make a quality weapon. The workers there also seemed to have difficulty making weapons from mithril. whereas Smith underestimated them because these workers were just amateurs. Then Smith told Dariel to close the window, and he started heating the mithril. Smith could see the color and every point of pressure on the stone. Before forging mithril, a smith had to decide what weapon it would be. After Smith finished making the weapon, he told Dariel to try it by chopping a tree nearby. Dariel felt that a sword this big was not heavy and he could swing it like he was holding a kitchen knife. Then Dariel began to flow his power, and he felt an extraordinary flow from the sword. Dariel can cut a tree easily and quickly, like cutting tofu with a kitchen knife. However, Smith's mithril sword was too dangerous to use in battle. Before long, Fitbitten begged Smith to teach them how to forge mithril to other workers. Of course, Smith didn't want to because Fitbitten had insulted him earlier. He said that Fitbitten and the rest of the workers were idiots, amateurs, and incompetent at blacksmithing. Smith will report details about his behavior to Bisfrid later, so Bisfrid could give him punishment. Then Smith takes Dariel home and wants to teach Dariel the special tricks he used before. But when Dariel saw Fitbitten's reaction, he was furious and wanted revenge on Dariel, even though Dariel didn't do anything to Fitbitten. Smith is very happy and satisfied to be able to insult Fitbitten again. Dariel warns Smith not to make such taunts to them. Things would definitely become complicated if they were to cause trouble with Lux Village. Then Smith asked for his sword from Dariel. He wanted to keep it first. Of course, Dariel was disappointed because the sword wasn't for him. Smith said that someday he would make a weapon that had never existed. Smith's next dream is to experiment with various weapons until he finds one that suits him. Because of that, Smith wants Dariel to accompany him to try out every weapon Smith makes. From now on, Smith will be working in Lux Village, and Bisfrid will definitely agree with this decision. Smith said that he could steal mithril from Fitbitten secretly. When they got home, Smith showed Dariel the best tool, which Smith had bought from the black market. Dariel was surprised that the human race had a magic tool like this. Then Dariel told Smith that this stove ethanol magic device would not work if it was not ignited with magic. Initially, Smith was disappointed because he couldn't do the best masterpiece weapon. He was also surprised that Dariel could figure out this tool. But Dariel found the best solution for Smith to work towards achieving his dream. The next day, Dariel called Rizit through the communication magic that Rizit had devised long ago. Dariel introduced Smith to Rizit, and Rizit also brought gifts for Marika's family. Rizit said he couldn't help Smith if he wanted to mass-produce weapons. Then Smith said that he would not make many weapons for war. It's been a long time since Smith retired from this blacksmithing job, but Dariel is an adventurer who brings Smith back to work again. Smith didn't want to waste this opportunity and wanted to repay Dariel for taking over the mithril mine, so he asked for Rizit's help to ignite the stove ethanol with magic. Dariel is a rare adventurer who has compatibility with 4 aura types, and no one can beat him. Because of that, Smith wanted to make a special weapon for Dariel. He didn't give the sword before because it was just a prototype, only made carelessly and has not been refined by Smith. Then the process of making Dariel's special weapon begins. Not long after, Fitbitten came there and asked Dariel to talk privately. Fitbitten says that the mithril mines have been taken over by Dariel, so the mine was the full right of Lux Village, but the Central Guild controlled the mithril mine. Dariel and the other residents have been tricked by Bisfrid, who wants to get abundant wealth. Central guilds will continue to take advantage of such an advantage, and Fitbitten advised Dariel to work together. If Campbelltown and Lux Village were to unite, they could defeat the Central Guild and expose their cunning. After that, they could control mithril with the profits shared by both sides. Then Dariel refused Fitbitten's invitation because he knew that Fitbitten was only provoking him. After all, Fitbitten had hurt many people that Dariel cared about, especially Marika, Geshida, and Rizit. Upon hearing that, Fitbitten threw his gloves at Dariel. Dariel immediately took it because he thought Fitbitten was making fun of him. But Fitbitten says that Dariel has to duel him in the village square tomorrow. Fitbitten will take away all the rights that Dariel has, and he will definitely win because he is a B-rank adventurer. Of course, Dariel was confused because he didn't understand Fitbitten's intention. Then Amble and the others explain that Dariel accepted Fitbitten's challenge for taking his gloves. Whoever loses will be taken right of honor, position, or whatever. The winner can also kill the loser, and other people usually use this method for revenge. Amble believes that Fitbitten wants to take control of the entire mithril mine alone, so he challenged Dariel like this. Everyone hesitated because Dariel's life could be at stake in tomorrow's duel. If Dariel surrenders or escapes, the mithril mine will belong to Fitbitten. In Dariel's mind, he just remembered that this is one of the rules of the human race, but he said out loud that he would still be dueling Fitbitten tomorrow. Because of that, Smith and Rizit immediately sped up the creation of a special weapon for Dariel. Smith will also teach Dariel how to use mithril weapons. After Smith taught Dariel was still practicing according to Smith's instructions until late at night. Not long after, Marika came there to give him hot tea. Marika worries about Dariel's health because he has been working too hard lately. As they sat together, Marika asked, "Do you really want to fight?" Dariel replied that he was fighting Fitbitten anyway. Dariel wants to silence Fitbitten later so everyone can be happy. There was silence for a moment, and Marika, with a sad face, said that she would prepare Dariel's favorite dinner tomorrow. She wanted Dariel to come home safely. Then Marika immediately left with a sad face, and Dariel realized Marika's worried feelings. The next day, Dariel managed to master the technique taught by Smith. Then he immediately went to the village square, and Fitbitten was surprised that Dariel was not afraid to fight him. The duel's winner will be determined when one has given up or is not strong enough to fight anymore. If there is a dangerous condition, the duel must be stopped. Then Fitbitten started bringing out the new mithril weapons the workers had made. He also wanted to know what weapon Dariel was using because he must have gotten something from Smith. But when Dariel pulled out his weapon, Fitbitten laughed because Dariel only got a weak kitchen knife. He didn't expect that stupid Smith would make this little knife. In Dariel's mind, he was very confident in fighting Fitbitten. He also doesn't want knockers to be workers under Fitbitten's behest. Then Fitbitten told Dariel to use a more appropriate weapon. But suddenly,
まともな武器に持ち帰るまで待ってや。
おった伸びたままだ歯が伸びるのか何者にも止められはせんないだろうお前が最初に奪ったんだ私の仕事を
Smith said that the Hermes sword he made could match the user's aura. The sword is perfect for Dariel, who has 4 types of aura and can't be beaten by anyone. The winner of this duel was Dariel, who was very tired from pouring a lot of aura from his body into the sword. Then Marika approached Dariel, and she was very happy because the man she loved managed to save the village again.
お疲れ様
Then Bistfrid immediately went to Dariel's house because he had just received news about Fitbitten's behavior. He apologized profusely to Dariel. Bistfrid will also punish Fitbitten with appropriate punishment later in the Central Guild. Then Dariel suggests that he wants Fitbitten and the others to repair the damage from the previous battle. It was a good punishment for them. After all, Dariel also felt guilty towards Fitbitten for taking his job at the mithril mine back then. Of course, Bistfrid and the others were shocked that Dariel decided on such a punishment. Then Bistfrid wanted Dariel to trust the Central Guild again as the manager of the mithril mines. Bistfrid also wants to repay Dariel's kindness by giving him a position and job in the Central Guild. At the Adventurers Guild Hot Springs, Dariel was still thinking about the offer from Bistfrid this afternoon. He was surprised by the offer from Bistfrid because it was a golden opportunity to develop himself further. Even Anvil also agreed if Dariel wanted to work in the Central Guild. It was a rare opportunity, and the job was well deserved for Dariel. Dariel thought that, most likely, he could find information about his parents there. Before long, someone entered there to take a bath with Dariel.
部屋広いんだから横に来なくてもいいよ。
少しお話ししませんかこんばんはダリエルさん
餅が
Of course, Dariel panicked because he was holding Marika's chewy mochi cake. He accidentally held it because he thought that it was Gashida who entered this sauna as usual. Dariel wanted to take his hand off Marika's mochi, but unfortunately, Dariel's hand couldn't do what Dariel was thinking. Marika's mochi was too chewy and comfortable in Dariel's hand. Marika had been blushing since earlier, and they were silent there for a moment while looking into each other's eyes. Then Marika nervously said she would support Dariel going to the Central Guild. After hearing that, Dariel finally managed to get his hand off Marika's mochi. Marika said she deliberately entered the sauna to chat with Dariel. She didn't know if one day she would be able to chat with Dariel like this or not. Dariel is a great man because he has helped Lux Village a lot. All residents returned cheerfully, and the village became crowded. It was a precious memory for Marika, who saw the Lux Village like this for the first time. Not only that, Marika also felt deep feelings for Dariel for the first time. Because of that, Marika was grateful that Dariel had become a part of this Lux Village. Whatever Dariel does, Marika and everyone will always support him. Marika believed that Dariel would be even more powerful in the Central Guild. In Dariel's mind, he knew Marika's attitude like this, always supports others and puts aside her own feelings for the good of that person. Because of that, Dariel had another reason not to go to the Central Guild. Dariel tells Marika that he already plans to turn down Desfrid's offer. Marika had helped Dariel and invited him to visit this Lux Village for the first time. Marika had saved Dariel's life when he had no idea where his life was headed. Not only that, Marika and her parents also allowed Dariel to live here. Lux Village is precious to Dariel because it's like his hometown. After all, if Dariel went to the Central Guild, he wouldn't be able to eat Marika's cooking anymore. After hearing that, Marika held Dariel's hand and cried because she could still be with him.
よかった。まだ一緒にいれるんだ。
The next day, Erica was worried because Marika had not woken up since this morning. But when Erica opened Marika's room, she saw a beautiful view of the activities that Dariel and Marika had been doing all night. Erica was very happy to see her daughter have her own happiness now. After a few minutes, Marika and Dariel were awake, and Marika was still wearing light clothes. She apologized for being late helping her mother cook breakfast. Then Dariel looked tired because playing with Marika all night in bed with unlimited rounds. Amble was confused because this was the first time Dariel looked so exhausted like that. Of course, Dariel and Marika were very nervous. They thought Amble had heard their activities last night. But apparently, Amble said Dariel shouldn't have been in the sauna for too long. It is very hot there and he can get dehydrated. After hearing that, Dariel and Marika were relieved that Anvil didn't know about their activities last night. Then suddenly, Erica told Marika that she was pleased and always supported Marika with Dariel. After finishing breakfast, Dariel and Anvil drank coffee together as usual. Dariel was really nervous today, but he really enjoyed playing with Marika last night, especially Marika's mochi. Then Anvil asked Dariel to do other herb quests later. The demand for herbal plants really piled up among the residents. Before long, Erica asked Dariel to help carry the clothesline to the second floor. While walking there, Erica advised Dariel to stay close to Marika and make her happy. Of course, Dariel was even more nervous because Erica must have known what they did last night. Then Dariel had to explain this to Marika's parents directly. This was the right time because Dariel could marry Marika. Then Anvil suddenly called Dariel because he wanted to talk seriously with him.
話がある。
Of course, Dariel thought Anvil would talk about Dariel's activities with Marika last night. But at least, Dariel has to explain his intentions to Anvil first.
あまりにも見事な餅。村長になってほしいんだ。
It turns out Anvil wants Dariel to be the successor to the village chief of Lux. Not only that, Anvil also wanted Dariel to become the guild master because it was time for Anvil and Erica to retire. They were old and would leave all these tasks to Dariel and Marika. Marika also secretly eavesdropped on their conversation. At first, Dariel refused because it was too big a responsibility for Dariel. But Anvil assures Dariel that he can definitely do it. Dariel has done many jobs in Lux Village, and he also knows a lot of people here. The greater the responsibility of a man, he will grow in his life. When he carries a big burden and responsibility, he will definitely end up enjoying the results. After hearing that, Dariel looked at Marika, and I'm sure you can guess Dariel's thoughts. Correct? Dariel thought he had worked hard all this time, and was getting good results, enjoying Marika. Then Dariel asked Anvil for permission to marry Marika, and he promised he would try to make Marika happy. After that, Dariel will receive an offer from Anvil.
俺と結婚してくれる？行き場のなかった俺に居場所を作ってくれた。これから二人で幸せになろうな。
シング！
2人じゃありませんよ。3人です。
おいおい。
本当に仲がいい子。
1 year has passed. Dariel and Marika live happily and already have one son. Lux village is still as bustling as ever and much busier than it was in Anvil's youth. Then Dariel visited Smith's grave because he had done a lot of service as a blacksmith in Lux village. Dariel is also grateful because Smith gave him the most valuable sword. Smith has also taught many things to his disciple, and now the blacksmith shop is managed by him. After that, Dariel returned home to continue his work as village chief. Of course, Dariel is greeted by Marika and their child named Grand. Dariel deliberately uses the name Grand because Dariel has been raised by Grand Barza, Bashubaza's father. Before long, Gashida reports to Dariel and Anvil that a hero is coming to the village. Of course, Dariel was very worried about this. For the human nation, the hero is chosen to kill the Demon King. It is their main mission for world peace. But from the Demon Nation's side, the hero is the villain who must be exterminated. He is a merciless killer. Dariel had seen the hero fight against the Demon King's soldiers back then. He is an old man with a mustache who brutally kills everyone. If the old man knew Dariel was in this village, he would most likely kill Dariel. Then Anvil and the others will prepare a banquet for the hero's arrival. Meanwhile, Dariel and Gashida will welcome them at the village gate. After waiting for some time, the hero finally arrived at Lux village, and Dariel immediately readied his sword. But Dariel was surprised because the hero turned out like this.
あれヒゲがない
Dariel didn't expect the hero he saw to be different from the old one. This hero is named Rady, and the two adventurers are Sadome and Seisha. Rady apologizes to Dariel for visiting Lux village all of a sudden. Then Dariel didn't mind about it. Dariel is amazed by Rady because she became a hero at a young age. Rady says that the previous hero was seriously injured while on a mission to kill the Demon King. Because of that, he retired and was replaced by Rady. After hearing that, Dariel felt relieved that Rady could not recognize his face.
戦いは男性だけの特権ではない。
今度の勇者も怖い
貴殿は年齢や性別で人を判断する御人か。
Then they chatted while walking towards the Adventurers Guild. Sadome was amazed that a small village like this could be the key to defeating the Demon King. Of course, Dariel was confused by Sadome's words. Rady explains that they came to Lux village to order mithril weapons. Rady also warns Sadome to behave even more politely. They are in a very precious village, and must always respect this village. When Dariel looked at Rady's hand, it turned out that Rady was just copying wise words. In fact, Rady doesn't have the wisdom or leadership qualities of a typical hero.
勇者がカンニングしてる変な子里目と逆のことを言う舐められたら終わり常に威厳ある言葉遣いしょっぱなマウント取る
After arriving at the Adventurers Guild, Rady's party was greeted warmly by Marika. Marika told Dariel to hold Grand, who had been crying since earlier. She wanted to take Rady and company's things to the inn room that had been prepared beforehand. But suddenly, Grand didn't cry anymore when he saw Rady. Of course, Dariel thought Grand was curious about Rady, who was coming here for the first time. Then Rady suddenly showed a bit of her tsundere nature because she wanted to help Dariel carry Grand.
よかったらうちの子抱いてもらう。
早く貸せ。
そんなに
Grand was very calm when Rady carried him, and Dariel didn't expect Grand to be carried by a hero like this. Even Dariel also just found out that Rady really likes babies. But suddenly, Dariel is shocked that Grand did this to Rady.
大丈夫かこの子将来が楽しみうちの子が
いいけど赤ちゃんのすることだし。
こらグラン
On the other hand, Grand Barza orders Bashubaza to come to his residence. Grand Barza had long since retired from the wound he received last time. He also wanted to know the Heavenly King's progress from Bashubaza. What about Dariel's advice and work there? Dariel was the one who could always come up with any solution. Even Dariel can also give peace to the people of the Demon Nation. Then Bashubaza was very nervous about answering his father's question. He explained that heavenly kings were growing well. Bashubaza also often listens to Dariel's words and suggestions. Dariel is doing well as a soldier of the Demon King army, so Grand Barza didn't have to worry about Dariel. Then Grand Barza asked Bashubaza, "Do you remember the message I told you before?" Bashubaza replies that he still remembers his father's words. Grand Barza is very lucky to have Dariel because any job can be solved with minimal problems. Because of that, Grand Barza handed Dariel over to Bashubaza as Grand Barza's successor. After hearing those words from Bashubaza, Grand Barza was furious with Bashubaza. Grand Barza already knew the actual situation in the Demon King's castle. He regretted giving up his title to stupid Bashubaza. Grand Barza scolds Bashubaza for firing Dariel for such an absurd reason. Grand Barza wants Bashubaza to look for Dariel everywhere. Bashubaza had to apologize to him and bring Dariel back to the Demon King's army. That way, the Demon King will allow Bashubaza to return to work as a heavenly king. Then Bashubaza disobeys his father's orders because he doesn't need trash like Dariel. Bashubaza will prove that he can be stronger and turn back the situation of the demon nation. After Bashubaza left there, Grand Barza missed Dariel very much.
今頃どこで何をしているダリエル
The next day, Satome and Sesha woke up earlier than Rady and greeted Dariel, who was working today. Then they knocked on Rady's door to wake her up. When Rady opened the door to her room, she delirious as usual like this. Rady must always have a sword with her when she's delirious like this. Then Satome reminds Rady that they are staying over at Dariel's house. Rady suddenly came to her senses and immediately changed her clothes in 5 seconds. After that, Rady says that she and her friends came to Lux Village for 2 purposes. One of them is a mithril weapon. So Rady asked Dariel to show the blacksmith in Lux Village. Then Anvil explained to Dariel that mithril was new to them. Because of that, Anvil believes that Dariel can guide them to Lux Village. When they arrived at the blacksmith, Rady and her friends were amazed by the mithril and weapons there. Dariel explained that mithril was a different material from iron. So every adventurer could feel the power of mithril when they used it with spell aura. Well, even though Dariel said that, when Satome tried out the mithril sword, she sighed like she was doing something. At first, Rady wanted to try the sword, but Sesha used it first. Because of that, Rady wanted to speed up her order for mithril weapons. Then Dariel introduced a man named Sakai. He is the #1 blacksmith in Lux Village. Sakai is a smith's apprentice and inherited smith's skills long ago. Even Sakai has learned 48 special manners from Smith, and this is one of them.
酒井君は手を握ってオーラを判別するんです。
いい子だね。
After Rady's spell aura check was finished, Rady wanted to discuss her next purpose with Dariel. By the way, Gashida also got there to ask Sakai to make a new mithril arrow. Rady had been searching for a strong and suitably qualified adventurer for a long time, but she couldn't find the adventurer yet. Rady needs one more adventurer to defeat the Demon Lord. Hero quest conditions must have 4 party members. After hearing that, Gashida would help Rady find a strong adventurer that matched her qualifications. Then Gashida and Anvil made an open selection of adventurers. Adventurers are very proud to be able to take part in this selection. Anvil is thrilled that a special adventurer will soon be able to join the hero's party. Rady was a little irritated that they were getting too excited like that. Fighting a demon lord is not something to be underestimated. Dariel apologizes to Rady as this is a natural reaction for adventurers meeting a hero like Rady for the first time. After all, they were excited because they wanted to fight the Demon Lord. Satome says that if the Demon Lord is killed, the Central Guild will give Rady's party a huge bounty. Then Rady says that all the adventurers will fight Rady's party at once. Meanwhile, Rady's party will use wooden weapons and household furniture. Rady's party was disappointed that they again did not get qualified adventurers. But suddenly, there was an arrow from afar that attacked Rady. Of course, Rady was able to avoid it and immediately approached the adventurer.
Power はなかなか
射程失格だ。
今あれを使おうとした。
彼のオーラに当てられて。
Gashida failed to become part of the hero's party. He was very sad because he had disappointed Dariel. But Dariel didn't mind that because Gashida had grown much stronger than before. Gashida is a B-rank adventurer, the strongest adventurer, and the pride of Lux Village. Of course, Rady felt something strange when she just heard Dariel's words. Because of that, Rady wanted to duel Dariel now. I explained first before their fight started. Rady previously wanted to use her immense power against Gashida, but her power was stopped by Dariel suddenly using an apple. Dariel actually knows the power that will be released by Rady just now, so he purposely threw the apple with spell aura really hard, so Rady wouldn't let out her power. Back to the story. Dariel said that he had retired from the adventurer profession. so he wouldn't fight Rady. Of course, Rady didn't care and immediately attacked Dariel. Rady is very amazed by the strength that Dariel possesses. Because of that, Rady and her friends invite Dariel to the party. They had been looking for a strong adventurer like Dariel for a long time. Of course, Dariel turned them down because he had a job in this village. At night, Dariel had just come home and was warmly welcomed by his beloved wife. Then Dariel helped Marika to give milk to Grand. Meanwhile, Marika was preparing dinner, but Grand is very fussy and always crying because he doesn't want to bottle milk. He prefers to drink milk directly from Marika's boobs. Dariel understood his son's wish because he was also liked Marika's boobs. Then Dariel really wanted to drink Grand's bottle milk because fresh milk is his energy every night. But when Dariel wants to drink it,
レディ様、何か。
Rady's party hasn't rested yet, and Rady is still stubborn about inviting Dariel to join her party. Then Dariel apologizes because he can't accept Rady's offer. Dariel has a lot of work and activities to do. For example, the painting of Dariel's family was made by Geshida in this house. Geshida promised to make the painting once a year. Marika also wants to see Grand grow up with the family painting. Dariel also wants to see Grand's growth. Not only that, but there are many other things that Dariel has to work on. Repairing household equipment, hunting monsters, supervising village activities, caring for parents, etc. Of course, Rady was confused because the duty to defeat the Demon King was the primary duty of humans. Dariel says he will do nothing more and still wants to be in this village. After hearing that, Rady doesn't give up on asking Dariel again later. She wanted Dariel to join the party to defeat the Demon Lord. After Rady and her friends went to their respective rooms, Dariel was still thinking about Rizit's words at that time. Leroy is very worried about Dariel and hopes that Dariel will return to the Demon Nation. The story goes back to when Leroy invited Dariel to drink tea in the Demon City. Leroy deliberately helped Dariel's work, because Dariel was exemplary in the Demon King's army. After all, Leroy wanted to see the smiles of the citizens and didn't want to lose her empathy for them. Leroy said that she and Dariel had to keep the peace in this Demon Nation. The story returns to the present. Dariel wouldn't be able to kill the Demon Lord because he grew up in the Demon Nation.
ご飯にしましょう。
The next day, Rady wants to follow where Dariel goes and works. Satome also joins Rady because Satome is bored at the inn. Rady and Satome saw that Dariel was very busy from morning to night, starting from hunting monsters, repairing broken village fences, cleaning the new Lux Village Adventurers Guild, cheering up nervous Sakai when serving customers, etc.
正解。帰るか。
At night, Satome and Rady talked alone in the room as usual. Satome said that she was in awe of Dariel for being able to do routine activities like that every day. After chatting with Satome, Rady wants to have an important talk with Dariel at midnight. Rady asked, "How can you have the same abilities as my teacher?" Dariel had defeated Rady in the previous match and used a high-level move belonging to Rady's teacher named Alanziel, a hero before Rady. Only one person can use that move, and Rady is very surprised when Dariel is able to use it. In Dariel's mind, he just found out that it was a hero's high-level move. He simply imitated what he had seen when the hero was fighting the Demon King's army. Then Dariel reasoned to Rady that he was only imitating Rady's previous move. Even Dariel didn't know that the move he was using was a high-level move. Of course, Rady grew more curious and annoyed with Dariel.
勇者の太刀筋さえも平気で読める腕前なのに。
Then Dariel explains to Rady that fighting against demons is pointless. The Demon Nation is only doing defense. The Demon Nation won't do anything if the hero doesn't attack. Then Rady told Dariel about Alanziel. The Demon Nation once attacked Alanziel's village and family. Due to that, Alanziel attacked the Demon King's castle and managed to kill one of the 4 heavenly kings. Dariel reasons that he once fought the Demon King's army when he wanted to take over the Mithril mines. The Demon King's army didn't dare to kill the knockers because they were civil servants. Dariel doesn't want any more wars and doesn't want to attack or be attacked by any side. He stays in this village because he has a family. This is important to him. Even any nation has a family that must be protected. After hearing that, Rady said that Dariel was too kind of a person. Then Rady begs Dariel to be her teacher because no one else is stronger than Dariel. In Dariel's mind, Rady's request was a loss for the Demon King. But Dariel also had an advantage. He could stop Rady from killing the Demon King bit by bit. Opportunities to interact with Rady will also be much more frequent than usual. This could be a guarantee for Dariel to stop Rady's wish. By the way, Dariel thought like this while looking at Rady's boobs. That's big for a teenager, but Dariel still prefers Marika's bigger boobs to Rady's. Then Dariel accepts Rady's wish, and from now on, Dariel will be the teacher who will train Rady continuously.
よろしい戻るぞ
At the Demon King's castle, Doroi is confused because Bashubaza hasn't reported anything for a long time. Even Zebiantist also disappeared somewhere, even though Doroi wanted to tell her to look for Dariel using wind magic in various areas. Doroi has been trying to find Dariel for a long time, but she hasn't found any leads yet. A few days later, Rizit visited Dariel's house as usual after trading Mithril. Of course, Rizit brought lots of magical souvenirs and toys for Grand. Dariel had been waiting for him since this morning, and when they entered the house, suddenly, someone was watching them from a distance. It turned out that she was Zebiantist, who had followed Rizit since this morning.
お宝見つけちゃったのだわ
Inside Dariel's house, Rizit was playing with Grand while chatting with Dariel. Rizit is very happy to play with a baby like this. Rizit also told Dariel that the special agent for the Demon Nation was starting to be reactivated. The special agents were deactivated in the past because Dariel worked in every profession in the Demon Nation. Rizit became a member of the special agents and was granted a badge, with powers almost on par with Heavenly Kings. Rizit became what he is now thanks to the help of Dariel, who wanted to provide a solution regarding Mithril. By the way, the heroes' party wasn't in Lux Village. They went to another town for a while to buy pajamas. Shortly after, Zebiantist entered Dariel's house and greeted them.
この村特殊な来客多すぎ
セビアンテス様
噂をすれば風怯えた顔ほど面白いものはないわよねいいわ
Zebiantist said that Rizit deserved punishment because he had met Dariel first. Doroi had been looking for Dariel for a long time, but Rizit was always silent and never told Doroi about Dariel's whereabouts. Even Doroi also ordered Zebiantist to look for Dariel, and fortunately, she followed Rizit, who often served outside the Demon Nation. Then Marika came home, and she immediately prepared drinks for the guests. The atmosphere was really very tense there. Zebiantist haven't seen Dariel in a long time. Even Zebiantist still underestimated Dariel's strength like she used to. But suddenly,
椅子あちらですよ
Marika is angry because Zebiantist insulted her beloved Dariel. Then Dariel wants to know the purpose of Zebiantist coming to Lux Village. Dariel was sure Zebiantist couldn't have come here just to look for him. Then Zebiantist answered Dariel's question while trembling. Marika always gave her a sinister look. Zebiantist came to Lux Village to get Mithril for her personal magic tool. Actually, Zebiantist had told Rizit to get some Mithril, but Rizit was always silent and did nothing when Zebiantist ordered him to. Due to that, Zebiantist followed Rizit and coincidentally found Dariel in this village. Rizit apologized to Dariel for accidentally bringing Zebiantist to Lux Village. Dariel didn't mind that because Zebiantist's wind camouflage ability was difficult for anyone to notice. By the way, besides being a heavenly king, Zebiantist are also commonly called the goddess of the wind. Then Zebiantist told Dariel to give Mithril to her. Dariel apologized to Zebiantist because he couldn't give Mithril for free. Rizit had to agree to Zebiantist's wishes first. Of course, Zebiantist forced Dariel because she really needed the Mithril. Even Zebiantist looked down on Dariel again as usual, but something like this happened again. Because of that, Dariel invited Rizit and Zebiantist to the forest area for a quiet discussion. But suddenly, Zebiantist attacked Dariel and still forced him to give Mithril. Even Zebiantist was irritated that a human like Marika could have an even more vicious aura than a demon. Then Dariel warned Rizit not to interfere in this battle. If Rizit fought Zebiantist, he would be subject to severe punishment.
見せかけての真ル
どうせ村のどこかにミスリル隠してるんでしょもう一回今のなし
え、負けを認めてくれない？
Zebiontis didn't want to admit her defeat to Dariel. She even asked for the next round, and it kept going like that. Then Zebiontis will fight Dariel even more seriously. She will use the overwhelming magical power of the storm. Then Dariel also immediately issued the hero's move he had copied. Dariel, please remember your wife at home. You already have pleasure, don't look for other pleasures. Then Dariel apologized to Zebiontis for taking her underwear. He promised to sell Mithril to Zebiontis at a slightly lower price. But Dariel wanted Zebiontis to keep a secret about Dariel, Rizit, and Lux Village from everyone in the Demon Nation. One more thing. Dariel didn't want Marika to know about Zebiontis' underwear earlier.
決めた？買ったのだわ。
ありがとうございます。
Then Zebiontis blushed because she wanted a weapon like Dariel's. But Dariel said someone else couldn't make this weapon. Dariel immediately escorted Zebiontis to the blacksmith to meet Sakai. Zebiontis can order magic tools with him. Then Rizit reminded Dariel that the hero party might soon return to Lux Village. After hearing that, Dariel thanked Rizit and was about to meet them at the gate. He wanted to restrain Rady and her friends first. They couldn't possibly get along with Zebiontis if they met in person.
お帰りなさい。
Dariel deliberately gave them several quests so they wouldn't run into Zebiontis. Rady blushed slightly at the handsomeness of Dariel. In fact, she was willing to do 100,000 sword slashes according to Dariel's request. It seems Rady's feelings of love do not look at the age of the man.
終わりました。
さすがです勇者殿。
Then Rady wanted to rest and bathe in the Adventurers Guild sauna. Dariel was relieved that Zebiontis didn't run into Rady and the others. But when Dariel wanted to bathe in the Adventurers Guild sauna, Sakai suddenly appeared there. He gave bad news to Dariel. Zebiontis didn't want to return to her territory yet and was bathing in the sauna. Of course, Dariel rushed to the women's bath because he didn't want any fighting in the sauna. Rady and Zebiontis were just chatting at first, but Rady recognized Zebiontis' face, and when they were about to fight,
忍び込み。
これは鏡餅？右に餅、左にも餅。
Dariel and Dariel and Dariel. Once again, please remember your wife at home. Then Zebiontis and Rady interrogated Dariel's previous treatment intentions. They understood that Dariel wanted to stop their fighting. He didn't do that on purpose, but there should have been another way before suddenly entering the women's sauna. Then Zebiontis and Rady were still fighting at Dariel's house. Rady is also curious, why is Dariel so familiar with Zebiontis? What does this have to do with the Demon Nation? Then Dariel told her everything about his relationship with the Demon Nation. Of course, Rady and her friends were shocked that Dariel had grown up in the Demon Nation. Dariel also told Marika and her parents about his past after Dariel proposed to Marika. They were initially shocked, but they still loved Dariel forever, especially Marika. She still loves her husband no matter what. After hearing Dariel's story, Rady finally understood and told Zebiontis to return to the Demon Nation. If Zebiontis disobeys Rady's order, Rady will kill Zebiontis now.
二人とも落ち着いて。
Marika was furious and suggested they solve this problem directly. Because of that, Rady and Zebiontis will be fighting tomorrow. Rady's task is also complete if she can defeat Zebiontis. Then Dariel wants to be the referee and witness to their battle. They shouldn't kill each other because Dariel doesn't want either to die. Dariel can't side with anyone. Initially, Zebiontis refused Dariel's wishes, but Dariel said he wouldn't sell Mithril to the Demon Nation, and Marika wouldn't increase Zebiontis' rations tonight either.
わかったわよ。約束する。
When they wanted to continue their dinner, Rady and Zebiontis apparently didn't want to wait for tomorrow's battle. They wanted to have a casual fight tonight at the public hot springs of Lux Village.
酒井くんが使ってる五右衛門風呂が火事マンに。
The next day, when they were in the forest, Rady and Zebiontis forced Sakai to make mithril weapons overnight. Of course, Sakai was very tired from fulfilling their request. Marika and Grand also came there to bring lunch. Rady and Dariel's friends will witness Rady and Zebiontis live, then the battle begins.
威勢のいいメス犬なのでキャンキャン泣かせてあげる。押しつぶせ。レックレック。
Grand, sleeping earlier, suddenly woke up and looked around him. Grand also looked at Rady and Zebiontis' very seductive boobs. Because of that, Grand approached them, and this surprised everyone. Suddenly something happened. Even though everyone panicked earlier, Grand looked happy, and Dariel understood Grand's point. It seemed he was inviting Zebiontis and Rady to play. Of course, Zebiontis and Rady laughed at Grand's behavior. He's a weird kid for wanting to play with situations like this. But Rady and Zebiontis are grateful that Grand could survive the collapsing cliff earlier. Then Rady ended this battle as their strengths were evenly matched. Zebiontis also felt happy and had not encountered someone with Rady's strength in a long time. From now on, Zebiontis and Rady became close friends and wouldn't kill each other like Dariel asked. In Dariel's mind, he was increasingly convinced that the demon and human nation could live in peace without war.
ご飯にしましょう。はーい。
A few days later, Sesha calls Dariel because Alanziel suddenly visits Lux village. Of course, Dariel was surprised because Alanziel had fought against the demon nation.